So our friends have bought a house.
They took out a mortgage and they're now paying it off every month, and they will be doing so for around the next 30 years, along with their student loans, which are about £50,000 each.
Unsurprisingly, to afford any of this, they're of course working 40 hours a week at work and about another 20 at home. Their schedule is so full that they only sleep about 6 hours per night, which makes them exhausted.
Of course, they still enjoy going out, you know, going to see their friends, having a drink on the weekends and such, so they spend about 10 hours a week doing that. And, you know, shopping and other chores and things they have to do takes about the same amount of time.
So if you roughly add those numbers, then you end up with about 46 hours, which is just under 2 days that our friends could spend in their house.
And of that time in their house, of course, there needs to be cooking, cleaning, eating, washing, other things like that. So actually, they probably spend less than 1/7 of their week, or under 24 hours of their entire week, potentially relaxing inside their own home, which is costing an awful lot of money.
And what's even more worrying is that very often they talk about how unhappy they are and how trapped they feel by, you know, all the money, all the work, and of it all, basically. And every time they take some time off work, they essentially just want to go away, get away from it all, including the house.
So why is it that they're spending thousands on a shelter that they not only don't really use, but seem to not really want? This just doesn't make sense to us.
As outsiders looking into their story, this really made us think. As soon as we realized that we were going to be trading our health, time, and nature for houses, money, and stuff, we realized that we really have a problem with this.
How do we escape the trap that is the vicious circle of our conventional society?
We believe it's possible. Why? Well, we've kind of already done it.
You know, we didn't plan it. It just kind of sort of happened. Long story short, we went to New Zealand and bought a 7-seater car. And after scratching our heads for months over the astronomical prices of accommodation in New Zealand, we just ended up staying in our car. You know, we'd already bought it, it was ours, and it was watertight.
Perfect. And you know, that's when the creative gears started turning. We didn't just put down the back seats. We ripped them out completely, you know, as you do.
And slowly but surely, we followed the breadcrumbs and actually had our own home. We had a bed, we had a kitchen, we had storage, we had nearly everything. All that we were missing was a toilet and a shower. But it came with a massive added bonus of having an engine and wheels, which took us all around New Zealand.
And our home. It wasn't just us. Weirdly, what a lot of people are shocked to hear is that out of the 14 months of travel, the time in the car was the best one that we had.
Definitely.
It taught us so much about our limits and our values. It gave us a true taste of freedom and health, and we didn't have to isolate ourselves in the woods. We didn't have to stop talking to people, and we didn't have to give up any of our material possessions that we cared about.
Apart from that one box that we sent home.
Well, we didn't send that because of the car.
We moved out the car.
Yeah, we had to move out the car for that.
So the big question is, how do we permanently build that lifestyle? Hence, it is now our mission and dream to build a tiny house.
Or 2.
Or 3.
We'll see. The tiny house movement is not new, but it's still very fresh. So the majority of you probably have seen the tiny houses of this century, and the majority of them look like this. A tiny house doesn't have to be a trailer with a miniature box house on it. Not anymore. A tiny house can be a tiny house on permanent foundations, or a bus, a car, a van, a plane, a yurt, a tree house, or a flat back house that you carry on your back. I mean, I haven't seen that last one yet, so if you do want to invent and build it, you know, build a flat back backpack house, I'll come visit. You know? I'm gonna be your first guest.
Flat back backpack house, flat back backpack house, flat back backpack house, flat back backpack
flat back backpack house, flat back backpack house, flat back backpack house. How many times can you say it?
Our homes no longer have to look like traditional houses. Plus, we're not building a house, we're building a home, and that is different for everyone because it represents our values. Houses just represent your wallet. So some people ask us, why not an RV? It's already in mass production, it's an accepted mode of transport and temporary living, but most importantly, An RV is not really a home. They're very impersonal, quite boxy, and quite frankly, look terrible. And plus, furthermore, the most important thing is RVs are temporary living, which means they don't have the right insulation, and although they are more aerodynamic, which is better for travelling, they're not multifunctional.
While a tiny house, by every definition, is highly customizable, which means that you can tailor your tiny house exactly to your needs, and you will not be spending anything that you wouldn't want to be spending on. That makes sense? So financially, from building a tiny home to maintaining and repairing it, the cost in comparison to the conventional real estate is around 10 times cheaper.
Which to all of us young adults and some of us fresh graduates coming out of 23 years of being spoon-fed how to live your life. And now we're trying to figure out where the money's going to come from to pay for our home, our food, our transport, and that education that we just had.
Yeah, getting a mortgage-free and location-free home that literally costs crumbs to maintain, yeah, that's an idea. And a thumping good one.
Thumping good one.
Thumbs up if you can figure out who says thumping good one. So financially, this concept is very appealing to us, especially when it's going to allow us to have the time and the spare cash to do the things that we actually love to do.
Furthermore, actually having the freedom to go around when the weather doesn't suit us and having the comforts of home instead of going through that entire hassle of booking flights and hotels and accommodation.
It's just gold to us, really. It's so valuable to have our own space that we can take with us and travel, and we don't have to worry about, you know, where we're going to sleep tonight.
Then of course, a smaller house means a smaller environmental footprint, since we would need less energy to heat it, for example. And also it's easier to get renewable energy sources, since you wouldn't need as big or as many solar panels.
Yeah, so they'll be much cheaper. You might then ask, what about doing my stretches? There'll be no space.
No, there isn't.
And true, in most tiny homes, walking and stretching room is usually limited. However, for the right type of person, this can be the perfect opportunity. Living in a small space actually makes you go out more. So in terms of activity-wise and socially, you can actually be better off. So at the end of the day, you might not actually need your stretches to stay fit, because you'll be moving around more and it'll take more energy to do stuff.
Now you tell me.
But of course, this is the key thing that prevents most of us from trying the tiny house route.
Our stuff. In a tiny space, you need to have less stuff. Less books, less souvenirs, less clothes.
Choosing this lifestyle usually leads to more minimalistic thinking. You really have to recognize the things that give you joy and the things that just give you dust.
Now, going back to the earlier definition of a tiny home, if clothes, for example, are very important to you, then that's fine. Build your house and home to accommodate that. Just have to accept that something else will have to go.
So we started here, and now we're starting our upgrade to our van. So the planning has commenced, so send us your ideas down in the comments below and subscribe for the full planning process and the full build of our tiny home on wheels. If you would like to find out whether tiny living is for you, then click the link below to get your free copy of our new ebook, Is Tiny Living For You? Whee!